coming through there on an aggressive champion Rek'Sai. 1-1-12. I think he's the catalyst the team needs to get them ahead.
Yeah, Soulstrike's, of course, now sort of solidly on the roster. Only had him for 2 weeks thus far, or 2 games thus far. So, of course, you know, wanting to make sure that they're definitely getting everything together. But we are well and truly into Champion Select, ladies and gentlemen. Ash and Na going to be banned away from Immunity, and Hecarim and Ryze hitting the bench here as Minkyuel not going to be playing that one, but Choo-Choo's, I believe, has probably been picking that one up in the mid lane.
Yeah, wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. And, you know, we mentioned Ryze today when we were talking about Denny, and is he just going to go right back to basics, pick up his old Ash and try and get something done in the bottom lane? Get a lot of, I guess, CC and engage coming out of the AD carry position, something that Immunity could have looked for, but they banned it away. Nautilus also hitting the bench for T-Gun there. And this is just fairly standard bans. I'm expecting maybe Alistair to get taken off the board against Ju because he's really the last strong support remaining.
Yeah, and I like that Legacy ban away the Nara as well. Of course, Ryu playing his most impressive games on that champion, but of course, Minkyuel having his one loss on Na, probably more than happy not to play that one. But we are through the ban phase. Carbon is going to lose the Nunu. I would have thought that maybe the Gragas ban would have come towards Carbon, but they are going to first pick
the... I cannot believe they didn't ban Alistair coming through there. With Nautilus off the board, they're going to really struggle to get something that can go toe-to-toe. With the Angry Cow in the bottom lane, T-Gun might have to go towards something like a Janna for disengage potential, because otherwise it's going to be incredibly difficult in the mid-game to try and stand toe-to-toe with Ju's Alistair.
Yeah, well, Soulstrike's is hovering a Karma. I'm not sure whether that's going to come through.
So strong right now.
Well, that's a good point, and I believe we are on the correct patch for it, as well as Victor hanging out there. And I don't... Look, we'll see what Immunity decide to do, but I think that Gragas is definitely something that they want to look to pick up. I don't know whether that's what they're going to head over to, but Kalista is the other thing that's a massive pick, and we didn't even mention Azir.
Yeah, so Azir comes through for Cheese again. He has picked it up in, I think, 2 of his games actually coming through there. Has looked okay on it, hasn't looked fantastic coming through, gets a lot of early game pressure, you do have to say, Cheese, but Kalista, something that Tallywhack is very impressive on, so I'm not surprised that they picked it away. Denny and also picked up his first win on the season on that AD carry, was a little bit more aggressive, like him better on Bloodthirster first AD carries because he just fights so often and gets some health back afterwards, I guess.
Yep, he makes sure that he's capitalizing on the fact that, you know, fighting for a long period of time is going to help him out. Legacy still taking some time thinking about what they want to take into the top lane, of course, or into any of the lanes, as Hecarim's actually been banned away, so Minkyuel not going to have another dominating performance on the horsey. See whether he picks up Shyvana. I'd be very, very excited if he did.
Yes, things like Aurelia are still open as well.
Yeah.
Minkyuel always been a good Aurelia player coming onto the Rift. There have been 2 critical, so it's probably going to be Maokai up there if you look at what they're going to default to. And you see Gragas Maokai locked in. So far, Legacy have a very solid front line, not really given anything away from their composition. They do pick well. They're going to zone control very well with the Gragas. They also have a lot of uncleansable CC through forms of knockups coming through. So I really like what they've done with their comps so far, putting together that big brick wall that we always talk about in the Cinderhulk meta. Yeah,
well, you're talking about the brick wall, but there's also the fact that Choo-Choo's can opt for the Cassiopeia if he wants to pick it up here. Of course, has been playing Cassiopeia for a long time, actually played it in the previous split a couple of games. He was very, very powerful on that champion, but a lot of people bring that into the Azir matchup.
Yeah, and it's a good matchup against Azir. Azir should be able to get through it, but the problem is it's just so unforgiving. As soon as you make that one mistake, Cassiopeia lands the poisons, it's just game over because she chases you down from everywhere. So Cheese is going to have to be careful if that is the matchup they take. In the top lane, Ryu can default back to Rumble. Does well in the Maokai matchup. He plays it a lot, so we probably expect to see that one coming through there. And as we said, some disengaged in the support position. They haven't gone for Janna, they've gone with Morgana.
Yeah, and of course T-Gun, a fantastic Morgana player. More than happy just to hit level 2 and then run away from the bottom lane, although Denian generally needs him throughout most of the laning phase. But, you know, you can head to that mid lane, throw out some Dark Bindings, really mix things up, and T-Gun's sort of known for being in the right place at the right time a lot of the time in the early stages of the game. Yeah,
tries to get around and affect the maps with some roam, so he definitely will be able to do that. Black Shield against the Alistair combo just cannot be overstated how valuable it is, because it does wreck the combo a little bit coming in there. So a lot of pressure on T-Gun to be able to keep Denian alive, get him scaling up until that Bloodthirster and Hurricane combo can come through, where he can start getting a lot of spears in this tanky front line, because you think that these team fights are going to go for a fairly long time with how much consistent damage is currently in both lineups.
Yeah, and does that make it difficult to bring Kalista into the lineup as well, considering the fact that they have more than sort of the single tank?
Well, the thing is, it's just all on Azir. Like, the pressure is there from Azir to shove people back off Kalista, because Kalista generally goes double lifesteal, likes the Blade of the Ruined King, as well as the Bloodthirster. So as long as she doesn't die instantly, it's going to be incredibly difficult to pin her down. In saying that, Choo-Choo's is just locked in an AP Kog'Maw. And that is, like, the most scary. The scariest, not most scary, because that's not great English.
Most scary works.
Yeah, it's just really terrifying. As soon as you get a tier, as well as the Luden's Echo, it does so much damage coming into the Rift. Level 11 and 16 come through huge power spikes for this AP Kog'Maw. And right now, they've got fantastic disengage and poke to come through with some good turret pushing pressure. So you can see exactly what they want to do. Get the ultimate, get the Luden's Echo, shove down turrets, create some room with the Gragas as well as the Kog'Maw, and then Tallywhack is just going to tear through them. Yeah,
and they've got insane displacement as well, considering the Buster Shot. You've got Headbutt there as well, but more importantly, the explosive cast means that no one will be able to stay anywhere that they want to be. And I just want to note that it kind of looked like that scary moment in solo queue when both of the people failed to sort of pick in time, and then they both picked the same role. Sort of happened there in the bottom side. But look, let's move on. Soulstrike's going to head over to a very comfortable pick in the Rek'Sai. And stop looking at me like that.
Not looking at you like anything. Rek'Sai, fantastic pickup coming through there. Was hovering the Jarvan for just a little while, but I'm glad that he went
through his
Rek'Sai.
Champion pool.
Yeah.
He went through his whole champion pool.
Wow, poor Soulstrike. I actually think he's a really strong jungler, by the way. So coming through there on the Rek'Sai, had a fantastic performance on that last game against Absolute. So we'll see whether he can do something similar, keep track of Carbon in the early game, use that Tremor Sense to great effect, because you feel if they're able to get to a one item spike coming through with Ryu picking up a Haunting guys, might be able to pressure early game before that Luden's Echo is completed for Choo-Choos.
Well, I think that Immunity have to get something done in the early stage of this game, because when it comes to positioning around objectives, things like that, you do not want to be anywhere near Choo-Choos. They'll be able to control those zones of the areas of control like so easily.
They have a very strong early game, like level 2 and 3 in most lanes with the gank pressure coming through. And then level 6, they have to make something happen. If this team is equal at 20 minutes, there's going to be all kinds of bad news for Immunity.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very frightening. It's, of course, something that we run into with Rumbles quite a lot. Of course, you get to that level 6, you have that equalizer, you really need to start making things happen. Otherwise, you generally fall off just a little bit. But if they get ahead, then Rumble can be frightening in the late game.
Rumble actually is serviceable at all points of the game. The fallacy that Rumble falls off extremely hard late game is just that, a very big fallacy as we see the head-to-head coming through here. But he scales just as well with AP as many other champions coming through there. And if you get locked down on top of that equalizer, even late game as an AD carry, it's going to get you off the map relatively quickly.
Well, it's true. But ladies and gentlemen, hop over to Twitter, use that hashtag LGCWin or the hashtag IamWin, and let us know exactly who you think is going to be able to take this game. Of course, in the early stages, we think that it might be Immunity, but if things go late, Legacy might take it there, and let us know exactly what you feel.
The other thing is coming onto the Rift with a very telegraphed composition coming through here. It means that you know exactly what Legacy want to do. But on the side of Immunity, I don't know whether they have any other decisions apart from try and poke at them and shove them off turrets. They have reasonable wave clear with Azir, but he's going to get chunked out. Probably has to look towards something like a Abyssal Scepter to try and get him some magic resist in there, because you look across the lineup, Explosive Shot, apart from auto attacks coming through from Tristana, everything is AP damage on the Legacy side. So there is way that they can combat this. Very, I guess, single-minded comp coming through from Legacy. They want to siege down turrets. They have a big, beefy front line to disengage if they need to. So maybe even getting Tallywhacker behind is something that they can look at in the early game, try and punish him, and that melee Alistair in lane.
Yeah, the thing that I'm sort of looking at these lineups thinking is that Immunity probably want to be able to start a fight before all that poke can go off, but do they have enough engage to do so? It seems to be all on Soulstrikes.
Yeah, Soulstrikes has to flash on Burrow, and from there, really is up to layering it with T-Gun, getting a good shove back off, because you're exactly right. You look at Legacy and you say they have good engage because they have an Alistair, they have a Maokai, but they're not going to be used for engage. They're going to be used for disengage, kite back, make sure they're keeping Kog'Maw so safe in the back line. So maybe it's something like an Azir Sec that can start off a fight with a great flank coming through from Cheese, but all in all, the composition that Legacy has put together, especially into a kind of pseudo team fight comp that's coming through from Immunity, is really solid on paper. I'm impressed that they've been able to go away. They haven't gone for the super aggressive engagement they did against the Chiefs and really got beaten in a split push slash poke battle coming through from the Chiefs. This time they've gone away, really put together a solid siege composition, and because of the lack of that hard engage that you talked about, unless they get caught by a beautiful equalizer, things are going to be really tough for Immunity to get the fight started.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very difficult. What I love about the Legacy team comp as far as how this draft actually came out was the fact that they saved both of their pivotal picks until last.
Oh, they hit everything. It was not a fast push comp with a Tristana until the last 2 picks. So unless you had really done the homework and seen that Choose had been playing a lot of AP Cogmore, because this comp is as much as Cog's job to shove people off turrets so then Tally can get the shots in that he needs to, as it is Tally's to push them down. So he's played Tristana with a lot of different compositions so far. This time with a poke comp coming through from a Gragas as well as a mid Cogmore. He's going to have all those tools to be able to shove through nice and quickly. And the thing about Tristana, we say it about Jinx a lot, but he snowballs ridiculously well. There's nothing worse than being jumped on by a Tristana with the explosive shot on you in the mid game and just taking all of that damage, because if there's one thing that wasn't removed from the kit with the reset and the jumps, is the repositioning in the team fighting if you get ahead is terrifying.
Yeah, just bouncing all over everywhere, sort of Goomba stomping just a little bit. And you mentioned this bottom lane, you're talking about Tristana. Another thing I want to talk about is the fact that we haven't necessarily seen it, but there's a lot of talk about the fact that Tristana often picked into Kalista and the fact that it's a good matchup. I haven't actually seen it proven, but hopefully we'll be able to find out now.
Because if you look at the actual damage that comes through from explosive shot compared to Rend, Tristana can eat the 5 spears because she does more damage. So 5 auto attacks from Trist with explosive shot is actually more damage efficient than 5 spears from Kalista. Of course, she has the slow that comes with it, but straight auto attack battle, Tristana will win.
Yeah, well, I guess Tristana can then also just rocket jump away as opposed to martially poising everywhere and being all fancy with little jumps and whatnot.
Martially poising.
Martially poising. That's, you know, martial poise.
I understood where it come from. I just didn't know that was the adjective to describe exactly what she was doing. I would have gone with hopping.
Well, you know, each to their own. Yeah. I prefer to use the correct terminology, Spawn.
The correct terminology. I like that.
It's called martial poise.
Keep your eyes on that for the martially poisoning around the rift.
It's not martially poisoning.
What did you say?
Martial poising.
Poising.
Yeah, okay. I admit poising is not necessarily something that describes movement generally. But thank goodness we're about to hop onto the rift, ladies and gentlemen, as Legacy are going to be taking on Team Immunity for our first match of the night. Denian, as you can see, not yet martially poising around, but just wandering down the mid lane.
Yeah, he's walking right now. He's not doing anything.
No, you wait. Watch this poising. Oh, no. Oh, there it is. See?
That was a hop.
Oh, it's called martial poise, Spawn. Okay, I think we need to give this up as Minkuel and Carbon have found Soul Strikes. It's just going to plop down a ward and move on out. Ryu's moving down as well, and they are going to be able to clear the ward out, so bit of extra CS there for Denian.
Oh, T-Gun getting rich early. There is no better feeling. Go back, get yourself an extra potion.
You deserve it, T-Gun.
Job well done from the support player.
Grab a drink. Soul Strikes continues to hang around here as Carbon in the river. Thank goodness. Scuba Gragas built for the river. Tallywhack are going to move to the top lane. So it looks like we are going to have a lane swap here, and Legacy will see whether it is going to be sort of the fast push lane swap or whether it's going to be more of a freeze here on the top side of the map, as so far it's just Tristana. Maybe looking for some sort of 1v1 pseudo switcheroo. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, because Tristana going to push a lot better than the Kalista early game. Rumble's so much easier to dive than a Maokai right now, and because they've got the jump on it, being able to go in, they're going to get an extra camp on their top laner. So Ryu, he has to back away. Not going to get the early level 2 like Minky Whale is, and so far, fantastic move here by Legacy, scouting out exactly what Immunity wanted to do with standard lanes.
You can see Flying Joe actually heading right into this jungle, knows that most of the members of Immunity are going to be on the bottom side, and gets a very deep ward. Doesn't put anything down.
Yeah, so he had already burned the ward coming through there, but what he was doing was checking whether the Rek'Sai had started red or blue. So that means now that he knows he's started on the blue side, the team can go over to the red, get some horizontal jungling going, cut off the wave at about level 3, and really shove that one in hard with Tristana. And you see Soul Strikes, he's not really perturbed because he's just going to move across and do some vertical jungling of his own.
Yeah, both teams now with some buddy system going on here, as in fact T-Gun may have just started off the red buff. He was doing some scouting of his own, as you mentioned, but Cheese in the mid lane up against Choo Choo.
T-Gun actually going for an early and roam onto the Cogmore, seeing if he can get any summoner spells.
Oh, actually lands the Dark Binding as well, forcing the flash. The attack from the Sand Soldier, not quite enough to find a kill, but Choo Choo's already with a lot of pressure on him.
T-Gun doing his best Mako impression out of EDG, getting the level 2 roam coming across. Actually, level 1, he didn't have anything else. Hits another.
Nails it. Oh, the last auto attack isn't there. The flash first blood for Cheese. A Cathian surprise is going to bait out the heal, but Cheese not going to die for it. Fantastic play early on, and that's all off the back of T-Gun.
Yeah, T-Gun going into the back of the Raptor pit and sniping out the mid laner for Legacy, and we said they need to get ahead early, and this is a way that they can do it. If they can boost up Cheese in this game, he's going to put out a lot of damage, which just means that they'll never be able to set up correctly for a siege because of the Sand Soldiers.
Yeah, and Cheese has often been one of the hard carries for Immunity as well. So far this season, he has definitely looked like he's the one on form on this squad. So no better person to get going early on. Legacy, though, they are going to be shoving in this top wave. Minions falling down left, right, and center. They stacked a huge one up here. Is the explosive shot going to do some work?
Yeah, so only level 1 right now, not doing as much damage as you.
Oh,
wow, Minky.
No, Minky. The classic mistake as the dive now comes through. He might actually be able to pick something up here as Ryu takes an ungainly turret shot. Soul Strike's now taking that one up. Forced to use the flashes. Minky, well, is he going to fall down? Flashes out of the way. Denian uses heal. T-Gun locks down the kill, and that was one of the worst dives I have ever seen.
Worst dive to ever come through okay.
Yeah, I know,
5
right?
summoner spells, but
wait,
they pick
worst
up the
successful
kill.
dive
exactly,
ever.
Yeah, it worked. I don't know how, but they got 5 summoner spells out of it, and they were able to push through top turret before the bottom turret was done. End of the day, Mickey Whale shouldn't have been there. He made the best of a bad situation, but the overall net gain comes through for Legacy.
Yeah. And T-Gun, of course, picking up a deserved kill for himself at the same time. 1-0 and 1 now on this Morgana.
No one else deserved it.
Well, it's true. But the thing is, T-Gun's Morgana often gets banned away. It's been continually banned, even in this split of the OPL. But look, we're getting it demonstrated as to why.
Yeah, exactly right. So a lot of pressure coming through onto the top side of the map as well, as they finally equal up turrets, but a lot of work had been done bottom lane, as Ryu now allowed to pick up a lot of the farm. And, you know, just standard stuff happening now. 1,000 gold is a lead for Immunity early on in this game, and it's just through the work of T-Gun, honestly.
Yeah, T-Gun's been everywhere, creating all of the action
contributing.
Yeah, I think I was trying to say both. Just didn't quite get there. But, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to have a slight pause, but it does give us a moment here just to sing more T-Gun praises, or just talk about the fact that Immunity have managed to get ahead early.
Yeah, so T-Gun, really a lot of the work has come from him.
Yeah.
He had the roam mid. He landed 2 key binds, was able to pick up first blood for Cheese, went back bottom lane, juggled turret aggro successfully in the bottom lane, which I actually think we're about to take a look at, that turret dive down there. And, you know, Mickey Whale, he shouldn't have teleported in here. There were 4 members definitely on that side of the map, but he's able to go to the target with turret aggro, so Ryu falls low. Then on the backside, he's able to get a lot of CC down on Soul Strike, so he falls low. Denian misses the pierce, so he has to burn both summoner spells. Finally, the Soul Link's passive does come through and allows T-Gun to pick up a kill, but Minky, although he really did burn a lot there for not very much, just a kill came through in the end, probably shouldn't have been on that side of the map.
No, he didn't necessarily need to be in. One thing I do want to note is the fact that Ryu sort of came down with the Flame Spear and missed 2 harpoons and flashed away. It was a little bit of a cavalcade of not necessarily the best events there for Immunity, but they locked down the kill.
Well, that ends okay, and they did get their kill, so credit to them. They've grew in 1,000 gold lead this early into the game. We said that they needed to get ahead early and they needed to play a little bit risky to do so. That's the MO ticked right there. They've got 1,000 gold lead that's pretty much artificially created by T-Gun, and if they can continue to snowball this, it'll only mean good things. Yeah, it's true. We got another replay, though, ladies and gentlemen. This will be Choose getting bound. Yeah, so the impressive thing right there is that the Raptor camp hadn't been taken, and he was able to position himself between it very sneakily to pick up the kill. On the back end, Cheese actually had to burn the heal as well to get away from the Acarthian surprise. I don't think it would have taken him down, but, you know, can never be too, I guess, careful with things like that. That's you don't want to return a kill back. So that got him first blood, a nice 400 gold advantage as well as a level advantage, which just as important when you're playing the Azir matchup. You always want to be ahead, be able to poke people out of lane. And Kog'Maw takes a while to get going. For all the mid-game power and the low ceiling in the item build, he does need to get those levels to be effective. Yeah, and you need to make sure you have that tier, you get that stacked up as well. And picking up the Luden's Echo has become
probably one of the most important things for a Kog'Maw.
Well, he actually doesn't scale very well on any of his abilities apart from the Q, really. The E is a big AoE thing, so for what it is, it has a good ratio on it. Then all of the ultimates that can come through, they eventually get strong with levels because of the range more than anything. So the base that it adds with a little bit of wave clear and the ability to hit other champions is just really, you can't put a gold value on Ludens right now for champions like the Kog'Maw, and that's why we see it picked up so much.
Well, we are back into the game, ladies and gentlemen. Denian going to continue farming down in this bottom lane. Soulstrike's going to take himself a Scuttle Crab and T-Gun, as per usual, on a little bit of a roam. Actually found a little bit by Minky Well, and the rest of Legacy are hanging around the Dragon area. Yeah,
they want to start that one up. Teleport is available for Ryu, though, but they just want to get in there before the level 6 is up. They also just don't want to extend that far as...
Yeah, actually flying through, flashes into the pulverize, finds Cheese, headbutt back in. He's going to fall down. Carbon locks down the kill. Nice dark binding there from T-Gun to try and stop something. But Immunity, they lose their mid lane and now forced to defend.
Yeah, and that is why burning double summoner spells for a gank is so risky, because you know it's going to come back around full 360. And in the end, Cheese made to pay for that one. And Alistair, just such a valuable pick right now, able to roam about. Right timing coming through for both Carbon as well as Flying Dew, but they must have known they were there because T-Gun was just spotted in the river by all of them.
Yeah, and there was a ward in the brush, and look, see whether they can recover from it. Denian did actually put a ward down, so not going to be going over aggressive at the wrong time this time around. And his Kalista has most definitely looked like one of his strongest champions so far in his return to the Oceanic pro scene.
Yeah, was able to go about 6-4, I think. So he had an okay game against Absolute coming through there. He was still taking some strange trades in the bottom lane. Infinity Edge versus Bloodthirster was quite interesting with the... I think he played against a Lucian matchup.
It was a Lucian, yeah.
And he did get beaten up a little bit in the mid game, but he's playing the early game terrifically well. Has a slight advantage over Tallywhacker so far.
Meanwhile, Soulstrikes is going to kill Choo Choo's in the mid lane, though. And, yep, Kog'Maw going to fall down once again.
Yeah, and that's just abusing the fact that... Oh, he actually did have Flash available, so he must have been caught completely off guard there. No Flash on Burrow, so just some poor positioning coming through from the mid Kog'Maw.
Yeah, maybe just knew that he was going to die. Didn't want to waste the summoner spell there. But Cheese did use his ultimate, so I believe Choo Choo's probably a lot further away from where he wanted to be than he wanted to.
Yeah, good sapling coming through there from Minky Whale, spotting out Ryu right now. Without the ultimate coming through for...
almost threaded the needle.
So without the ultimate coming through for Maokai, it's actually in Rumble's favor quite heavily this lane, even though he's down in CS. Should be able to get a lot of work done just through some high base damages. You see the second ring coming through there for Minky just to circumvent some of that early game power. Gives him some inherent tankiness as well as some wave clear. So just trying to keep himself nice and aggressive in that lane. And when we've seen Minky Whale at his best so far this season, it's when he is being aggressive and trying to be a carry for his team.
Yeah, and Rio now with a gigantic minion wave. Now pretty happy that it's moving towards his inner turret. Let's choose now with the living artillery able to be very, very frustrating in this mid lane despite being behind. Soulstrike's going to get his red buff warded and move out of the way. Knocks up Minky Whale though. There's the equalizer. Minky Whale forced to stand in it. The tree definitely burning down at this stage. Given up for dead by Carbon and Immunity. They pick up another one.
Yeah, and Cheese had the earlier response as well because Choo Choo's was shoved in. That was just suicide because Azir was always going to be Kog'Maw there. And just a little bit of a lapse in judgment. Maybe some shot calling coming through there from Legacy. But all of a sudden, this gold lead is out to 2,000 gold. And Ryu, one of the members that I guess he struggles in laning phase typically. He's a pretty good team fighting top laner, but doesn't really like the one-on-one situation. Has had a very good start to this game. 1-0-1. Has the wave exactly where he wants to be and is equal on farm.
Yeah, and at this stage, of course, Minky Whale generally one of those top laners that no one really wants to 1v1 because no one ever really knows how he's going to play. He's very, very strange with how he moves around that top lane and is able to often get a lot of results for it. As Soulstrikes is going to be able to take down his red buff, finally.
Yeah, Minky Whale is actually a really smart top laner when it comes to when he understands that he's stronger than his opponent.
Yeah.
And even if it's just by the narrowest margin, Minky would definitely be a gambling man because he goes all in on some very close trades and comes out pretty far ahead just because he's got a little bit more, I guess...
Confidence.
Confidence in his ability to win it is a good way to put it.
Very good point. Tegan going to sweep out this ward here. Choo Choo's was thinking about throwing some artillery at him, but decides not to.
Yeah, the range on level 6 Cogmore ultimate isn't really that strong, so you don't want to use it too much to harass because you can cop a stray binding there. So better to just let T-Gun do his thing. As Tally now caught up as well.
Yep, T-Gun uses another ward in order to take down that pink. Definitely worth it. And T-Gun definitely on form today. The binding was
play
fantastic.
Coming through from the support player. Wow.
Oh, jeez. Oh, dear. Well, we weren't watching.
So he tried to do the combo.
He did.
Yeah, so what he tried to do is he tried to E-move the soldier with his Q to elongate it a little bit, and he pre-Q'd the ultimate to come through. The ultimate, unfortunately, didn't go. The combo didn't come off. Ultimate came through a little bit too early. He got some minions for it.
Yep. Yeah. Always sad to prematurely Q. But Tallywhacker now with a 2-level disadvantage, copying a whole lot of Rens from Denian, who's going for the Blade of the Ruined King first this time around, actually. Not sure why. Why do you think he'd go for the Blade of the Ruined King instead of, you know, his general Bloodthirster?
So he's expecting a Cinderhulk to come through there from the jungler, which is a lot of HP.
Yep.
He's expecting Maokai to go with a tanky build, something like a Righteous Glory first. Very little resist. So, wow, we'll talk about it in a second.
Speaking of Maokai, there's an equalizer. Minkuel flashes on top of it, though, as Ryu. Brilliant positioning of that one. The Harpoon's coming down now, and Minkuel might be forced just to give up the ghost. He is going to be taken down, and Ryu 2-0-1 now.
Yeah, overextending for farm. Carbon in some trouble now.
Yeah, definitely out of position here. Soul Strike's making his way in. Cheese gets himself a shield from that E, and Preyseeker finds Carbon, but he gets exhausted as well. Knocked up, and Cheese picks himself up another one. Immunity really rolling in it now. And
you look at how many summoner spells they're using to get in range for these ganks, and it's just because they know their window is right now. They need to be ahead with these level 6 spikes, and they're going to get mid-turret for it.
Yeah, T-Gun could have got headbutted back there, but Flying Jew not confident here, knocks him up. Oh, decides not to, as of course the ultimate did come down from the cow, so not going to be dying too quickly, but Legacy lose their mid-turret.
All right, let's just talk about one little thing that happened. It didn't actually mean anything, but Jew warded over Raptor Pit and headbutted a Raptor to get over the wall without burning flash.
Oh, very cute.
It was very cute coming through. You see the Raptor at the back, ward at the back of the Raptor Pit?
Mm-hmm.
That is what it's for.
I like it. You said it meant nothing. It meant you didn't have to use a summoner spell. I thought you were just going to come out with some irrelevant information. I was about to say that's my job.
He had ultimate rolling. They probably weren't going to fight him anymore.
Yeah, that's a good point. He actually decided not to even unburrow, did Soul Strikes. But Legacy's bottom lane back here now. And if anyone's going to overextend,
it's Denian.
It's going to be Denian. Oh, they're looking for
nice.
Flashes out of the way. They know that Flying Jew doesn't have an ultimate either as T-Gun's coming in. There's the Fate's Call. Gets the knock up onto Flying Jew as well, who actually headbutts Soul Strikes away, but Cow going to give up his life for that one. Cheese flashes forward. There's the Emperor's Divide, and Tallywhacker, he's going to die. Double kill for Denian.
Yeah, so we said good mid-game power spike going to come through from Legacy, but they're 5,000 gold behind. They've lost 2 outer turrets as well. And Immunity, they've got the early momentum, and they're just not taking their foot off the pedal. Continuing to shove down advantage after advantage. They're going to pick up a dragon for themselves. First one of the game at 13 minutes, slightly later than you would expect. But what great early play coming from a team that has been struggling in the early game stage of the OPL.
Yeah, and this is what Immunity was always good at, was doing mental things in the very early stages of the game, mostly off the back of T-Gun, who's more than happy to roam around and be in places that people would otherwise not expect. So it's really looking like Immunity have decided, okay, let's just go back to what we knew always worked.
Yeah, exactly right.
And they have.
Talk about unorthodox players to join the lineup and fit right in. Denian and Cheese.
Yeah.
Coming across probably 2 of the better fits that you could put into the Immunity lineup. You see Denian now in the top lane with that Blade of the Ruined King as well as some Zerkovic creeps finished off. He's going to look to take the last turret. And Minky Whale, he's only level 8, very far behind in CS when you compare him to Denian. Needs to be careful he doesn't get dove.
Yeah, Soul Strikes himself is level 8 as well as he Void Rushes towards the top side of the map.
And, yeah, speaking of dive.
Yeah, finds Carbon, misses the Preyseeker, but he's still going to do a fair bit of damage.
And, you know, every little bit counts because there's 2 members coming up there. Cogmore is heading towards mid lane. Alistair will rotate across. Going to be too late. It looks like Immunity going to be able to knock down the last outer turret.
Yeah, Cheese as well just took his wolves, knew that he didn't want to be overextended in the lane, but also knows that there's no pressure on the rest of the map. Denian just happy to tank up the turret. And man, that's a 6,000 gold lead now.
Yeah, so 15 minutes into the game, and Immunity, are the ones that have cracked the outer ring. We said that Legacy, they want to get into a fast push situation. They want to get the Luden's Echo nice and early in the game. It just hasn't happened so far for the Cogmores. Had a hard time, being relatively camped, you have to say, Choo-Choos, but credit to Immunity for recognizing the win condition that Legacy were going to bring to the table and using Rek'Sai's early pressure. 1-0-6 is Soul Strikes.
That is the perfect jungler score as well. I mean, that one kill just to get you ahead is Minky. Well, he's been Blade of the Ruin King, just decides that he wants to die on his own terms as he Twisted advances his way into death. Soul Strikes now not wanting to go too far into the cow, who does still have that headbutt to threaten some displacement.
Yeah, and you see the spike just isn't there for Choo-Choos yet. Hasn't been able to pick up the Luden's Echo. Hasn't got level 11 so far, and that just means Denian going to be able to press these turrets to no end.
Yeah, and T-Gun lands another binding onto Choo-Choos underneath, behind the turret, in fact. And if we're talking about Morgana's eyeline, not sure how she managed to see that, nor get a weird ethereal thing through a tower.
But she did.
She did.
And that's all that matters.
Yep. Flying Dew. Head over here as well. Soul Strike's just going to burrow his way out as Flying Dew really wants to kill the tunnel, but a little bit too soon. And Ryu's just going to split push on the bottom side. Teleport available for both of our top laners.
And you know, Ryu's been the real beneficiary of all this because he's just been able to go to whatever part of the lane everyone else isn't on because of how strong Denian is right now.
Yeah.
Pick up farm whenever he wants to. He got 2 really good ganks coming through from Soul Strikes and was able to use the Equalizer to great effect. So this Rumble is going to be well and truly into the mid game, probably going for a team fighting build with a Rylai's Crystal Scepter, you would expect.
Maybe
just
even
try
an
and
Abyssal.
keep people in there. Maybe an Abyssal as well because of the amount of magic damage that's coming through from the Legacy lineup. And once again, Soul Strikes is back in the top side of
Yep. Chilling Smite onto Carbon there as he just tunnels onto Minky. Well, T-Gun's here. Not too much cavalry arriving, but in comes Cheese as I say it. Nice flash after the Twisted advance for Minky Well, but Soul Strikes, he's flashed on top of him. He gets Arcane Smash, but Minky Well just so far behind at this stage. Soul Strike's able to keep up so incredibly easily. Binding so close. But Minky Well just taking them on a little bit of a wild goose chase as the puddle's there. Chilling Smite, not slowing him down too much, but there's the Prey Seeker. Ryu, on the other hand, he might be dying at this stage. Oh, Tallywhacker misses the jump, but it doesn't matter.
Just plays leapfrog with him. That's all he wanted to do. You see a lot of turret pressure going on, so they trade 1-for-1 across map. But in the end, Choose gets nailed by another bind.
He's got a magnet on him. There's the Pierce coming down from Denian, and look at that extra damage. If he had to use the Blade of the Ruin King, that would have been a dead Choo. Oh, it still is a dead Choo-Choos.
Yeah, so they're just corralling him under the turret. Teleport will come through. Soul Strike's in trouble.
Yeah, he is. Not quite in turret range just yet, but he is going to die as Choo-Choo's able to offer the extra damage. And that's the way to get out. Just kill whatever's blocking you in there, as Minky Well teleported to his turret as well, just to alleviate some pressure. Denian now moving around the top side of the map. He's possibly going to find the tree, as T-Gun's used the Soul Shackles. Flying Shoe going to get locked up, but
had the ultimate burning, so wasn't really affected by it too much. And that's what T-Gun didn't pull the trigger on when he was going for Choose there. He didn't get the first tick of the ultimate. Would have been enough to kill him. Yeah,
well, Denian is going to take down the inner turret in the top lane. Yeah, is he able to use the Rend? There it is. Perfect damage from Denian, and this is the best I've seen this guy play.
Yeah, 4-0-1, having a fantastic early game coming through there, and is equal in CS with the amount of turret pushing he's been able to get done on the map. 7,000 gold and counting is now the lead for Immunity, and you feel that they need to really keep this going. The pace of the game is exactly where Immunity want it right now. If it slows whatsoever, you would say that Legacy is still within touching distance because that Luden's Echo has come through. But right now, Immunity are dictating every single portion of the map.
They certainly are. Of course, Legacy now just want to try to stop the bleeding. We'll see whether they can do that as the Scuttle Crab is going to fall down here. They've got a couple of wards down towards the Dragon, which is going to be up in another 20 seconds. Of course, Immunity not really able to rely on that one just yet, just because their first Dragon was taken so incredibly late. It might be difficult for them to sort of get a realistic opportunity to use that 5th Dragon to their advantage with this particular comp, but we'll see.
They definitely scale, so the one thing that Legacy's comp does is push turrets really well. So that's how they were supposed to build a gold advantage coming through into this. They still might be able to do that, but in a 5v5 team fight, run your head at each other's, they're both very strong compositions as they're going to do a lot of damage in that late game. So it's not like Immunity are without hope in the late game. It's just that actually getting a fight is going to be incredibly difficult.
Yeah, it's a good point. Well, 6,000 gold in the lead is Immunity, so that's most definitely going to help them out here as Blade of the Ruined King is off cooldown now for Denny and now augmented by that Renown's Hurricane. Rabadon's Death Cap now completed for Cheese as well as that Morellonomicon. This guy is massive.
And the other thing you have to point out with the zone control team that Immunity's put together is that Baron is a very real early objective coming through here. Azir will do work to the Baron. You have all the secure that Kalista will offer. The fact that Soul Strikes is nice and tanky already at this part of the game.
Yeah.
As,
yeah, Flying Dew might be in trouble here. Does use the ultimate, so the Unbreakable will have to demonstrate why it's called that, as it's a really nice ultimate from Carbon just to make sure that Soul Shackles didn't lock down the cow. But
great disengage ultimates, but in the end, it's 2-for-1 trade coming through there. Now they're moving into bottom turret, and without Dew's ultimate, that's a very tasty dive.
Yeah, Dew's ultimate, Carbon's ultimate as well.
Ooh.
Immunity.
See the Luden's Echo starting to do work on the back line there, though. Cheese took an ultimate and did a lot of damage.
Yeah, and they can't really let themselves fall into this extended siege situation as well for Immunity. They don't really want to let Legacy sit under a turret and let themselves get poked out by the living artillery. So intelligently, they're going to move the heck away and reset this one. As Cheese now with relatively low health. He gets hit by a Void Ooze and an ult. Oh my goodness. Danian's damage, absolutely ridiculous. He's now caught right in the front line. The explosive shot, is it going to be enough? No, not quite enough just yet as Tallywhack is going to fall down. Cheese dies as well, though, as Carbon's going to get exhausted. Oh, there's the equalizer, though. Ryu just corralling the team members of Legacy. Flamespit are going to lock down Choo Choo's, and everyone's starting to die. But in the end, relatively close trade.
Denian's still under 10 HP. I want to know how much he lived on, because I'm thinking it was 2 or 3 hit points on the back of that. He had absolutely no right to be alive, and you see how little he had. That was about 20 seconds after the fight with regen kicking in.
And Tallywhacker as well.
And he still hasn't healed. He's just going top lane.
Yeah, it's important. It's important.
There's waves.
Yeah, well, look, he's got life
still. He's got life still.
Yeah, he's fine.
Going for the QSS nice and early, get some magic resist, really agree with the build path he's going as well. So Denian, as we mentioned earlier, having a very impressive early game.
Yeah, really playing this one well. Of course, slightly caught out of position in the last team fight, but didn't die.
Didn't die.
And
perfect scoreline, 4-0-3.
Yeah, not a bad kill participation as well. There for half the fights, and when there's fights going on all the time this game, it's definitely pretty good.
Especially when a lot of it was early top lane pressure that came through from Stroll Strikes. 3 times Minky, who is 0-6-2, not having the best game, but still is getting reasonably tanky, and they're going for that Baron we mentioned. They're going to probably chunk through it before anyone can get there.
Yeah, it's already down to about half health as Denian's got so many sticks into this purple beast. And man, that rendered a whole bucket of damage. Cheese actually locks down the kill in the end as Carbon is going to throw out a bucket, but look, little too late at this stage. As turret is going to die in the bottom lane, so Tallywhacker doing some split pushing and does have some damage on his side with almost that Static Shiv Infinity Edge combo completed. But Immunity probably happy to go for a bit of a base race against one member of Immunity.
Yes, so Immunity going to push up with Tallywhacker in the bottom lane. Ryu going to catch him out, maybe on the backside. We'll spot him, and you're exactly right. They're happy to push through because even though there's poke damage, Kog'Maw not really known for clearing out Baron minions. Normal minions he clears really easily, but those melee minions just take a lot more killing from magic damage than you'll otherwise expect. Only Sivir really deals with Baroned up minions really well. Yeah. And we'll see whether now Legacy can repel this huge push that's going to come through from the Immunity lineup.
Yeah, and Immunity almost with a 9,000 gold lead now as well. They're only extending it as this game progresses. 5 turrets to 2. Of course, importantly, they haven't yet broken the base. Legacy still have a chance if they can hold this one off for as long as they possibly can, but it's getting dire.
Yeah, it certainly is. And you see that T-Gun, he's still got that scope locked in.
He cannot miss a binding. It's ridiculous. And now almost has his Zhonya's Hourglass completed as well, Spawn.
Exactly right, just so he can become even more of a carry for his team. And you know, we were talking about Morgana today, saying she doesn't really need to go Zhonya's Hourglass. Well, she doesn't need to, but she still does a lot of damage if she does.
Yeah, certainly still can, and you can get right in amongst it as well and make sure that you're not killed before your stun goes off.
Cheese did go recall, and that's why they can't really siege down this turret just yet. And you see, Choo Choo's, he's got some items, but wow, they're going in. Yeah,
they're looking for something here. As nice black shield onto Denian, but is it going to be enough as he gets punted away? Going to get shut down by Carbon. Minky Whale, he's going to fall, but T-Gun will soon after that, as well as Tallywhacker looking to try and continue this one out. But doesn't quite get too far in, and Ryu and Soul Strikes are enough to deter them from this one, and they know that Cheese is waiting patiently.
Yeah, really nice equalizer coming through from Ryu there. That could have been much worse, but good engage, understanding exactly when they can fight. Oh, but that damage coming over the wall from Cheese.
That is so scary. That's one auto attack. What?
There was a Q in there as well.
Yeah, that did barely anything in comparison to that auto attack from Cheese. Or from the Sand Soldiers, sorry. I guess it's the auto attack, not that strong. But man, them Sand Soldiers definitely doing some work.
Yeah, so coming through with a lot of damage. Third Dragon going to be up. They didn't really get much out of that Baron because a great engage came through from Legacy, so they can definitely still fight on their terms. You saw the fact that now with 3 items complete, this Kog'Maw starting to do some more damage, although nowhere near as much as Cheese, but he wasn't at the fight, so it doesn't really matter. They're not comparable in that case, and Tally is getting ramping up. He's finished 2 items coming through there, is getting into that mid-game Tristana stage where probably just as strong as late-game Tristana was, really does dictate mid-game as well. But they will pick up the 3rd Dragon for themselves.
Yeah, Denian able to stick it with a whole lot of spears, so Miranda's going to secure that one. Ju might be in trouble as there's the Emperor's Divide, gets the cow back into the team. No ultimate to speak of, and Cheese, he's the one to grab the kill credit on that one. Only Ryu not around, he's just pushing out this mid lane.
But what can they get off it? 25 seconds, they need to push the bottom out of. You saw Kog'Maw, he's gone and picked up blue. Terrifying with blue buff is Kog'Maw. And no one's really grabbing that bottom wave. They haven't been able to shove it in just yet. Trying to catch people in transit, but is that going to work?
Yeah, well, we'll see. There's Soul Strike's actually going over. Look at the binding, was blind there for the majority as Choo Choo's might find Soul Strikes. He's looking to try and get back to his tunnel. Does get there.
But look at Choo's damage.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
He just half health 3 members. If he gets a full combo onto Cheese, he probably is going to die because he's gone all aggression. But great pick coming through there as, yeah, this Kog'Maw starting to get scary.
Really is. That's with the Seraph's Embrace completed as well. You can see Cheese does have to back away now as well. And there's just not enough sustain for this team to allow them to securely siege out these turrets.
And that's the danger coming through here. Kog'Maw's only going to get stronger as the game goes on. We'll probably go towards the Void Staff next just to stay ahead of the MR because you have to think that there's going to be some magic resist built up as this game goes on to try and get around the fact that Choozy's going to do all that damage. But as the game goes on, Kog'Maw doesn't really fall off until the super late game where he can maybe just be deleted by Cheese and Denian, but that's going to be a hard ask.
It will definitely be difficult, especially when there's so much disengaged potential that we've already seen in effect. Carbon, some of his explosive casts have been fantastic at removing immunity from areas that they want them to be. Denian got deleted in the last fight that we saw him in.
Yeah, Tia nearly caught out there. Good, I guess, instincts to back away with the rest of his team on the other side of the map. And now, Legacy, they're looking to get control over this Baron area.
Oh my goodness, Denian, though, able to utilize that W to such great effect. Explosive Cask almost doing something here as Flying Dew, even through the ultimate, still going to fall down. Soul Strikes looking for something.
Yeah, they're looking for a second pick, but they need to make sure they don't go too aggressive because Kog'Maw is going to start doing some damage.
Yep, I can see the Voidoo's there as well. Know that he's hanging around. Denian hasn't been back to buy in a little while.
Stops the back of Carbon. That's frustrating. Only a minute up until that Baron is going to be re-available. Dew will be back up and will be able to impact the fight. It's not like it's that close, but
oh another bind onto Choose. He's going to fall down instantly. Denian, explosive shots on him, but it's not going to do too much damage. A Cathian surprise, not even enough here as Ryu flashes forward. Is going to be tanking the turret. There's the Zhonya's Hourglass, though, as the barrel might do a bit of damage there, but so far, immunity, they break the base. Another binding onto Minky, and I can see you freaking out, Spawn, because, man, he's not missing many.
Yeah, he definitely is not missing any at this point, and Choose just cops a bind with both defensive summoner spells available, and just gets deleted off the map by all of the damage coming through from Denian. It's immunity lineup now 11,000 gold in the lead.
Yeah, and it's like, is this the late game that we were talking about? Because Choose, we're talking about that being one of his problems. And it most certainly was, as the Seraph's Embrace wasn't even enough to keep him alive.
And you look at the front line that is available right now. It's Maokai, Gragas, as well as an Alistar. And somehow T-Gun has repetitively threaded over 13 binds, because that's how many kill participation he has right now, onto priority targets.
He's certainly playing his heart out, his T-Gun this time around. Flying Dew takes half of his health by a couple of spells from
Baron's
Cheese.
back available, and Jude's really low without ultimate up yet. They can just start this one off yet again. And realistically, Legacy have to come to them and face check what is a Rumble as well as a Fed Soul Strikes on this Rek'Sai. It's just a lot of CC to lock them up.
Yeah, Soul Strike's still doing fantastically as well, like you mentioned, almost with that Black Cleaver completed. Immunity now going to peel off the Baron as Explosive Cask going to do a fair bit of work there. T-Gun using the Soul Shackles and the Zhonya's there, and lands another binding in the back line, but Flying Jew able to use that ult to try and tank up a whole lot of damage. Denian now right in the middle of everything, but nice Emperor's Divide to keep him alive. And look at the Ren damage now finally coming through. Tallywhacker jumps away, but it's a triple kill for Ryu. Looking to pick up the last couple, but Immunity back away. They just want to take the Baron.
Yeah, they have absolutely no choice to fight this one. Super Creeps are in their base. They're trying to grab a turret for themselves. Maybe go for a steal with Carbon. But that is a risky prospect.
Yep. Oh, T-Gun misses his first binding on a point-blank target and just for hilarity. Actually,
wow,
yeah.
They might get a fight here. Tallywhacker's full health.
Yeah, he's going to get a double kill. That's a whole lot of extra damage. Tallywhacker now at full health. Ryu, does he have the Zhonya's? He doesn't just yet, but Denian's got so much damage. That's finally the ace after the Baron falls down.
Yeah, so they pick up Baron on 2 members. They get the ace finally. They lose a Nexus turret on the side of Legacy. Wow, talking is hard today, Atlas.
I understand.
And really, 14,000 gold coming through from Immunity. I don't think anyone would have guessed this result.
No, I had no idea that they had this in them. And of course, T-Gun has been very he's expressed himself a lot on social media saying, look, we know that we're not necessarily playing at our maximum, but you guys understand that we're going to work together as a team and make sure that we can get it together in the OPL. I didn't know that he was going to be able to turn it around this fast. Yeah. Like, man,
yeah, well,
I want to see this guy's productivity outside of the game.
Thursday night post, translate to Monday night, very good win.
Yeah, it's not bad. I was expecting this to be an ongoing thing over the split, not like, okay, overnight, we done it. Don't worry. World peace, Denian. I mean, T-Gun. World peace. It could be your next option.
Denian is not your best bet for a world peace ambassador with how aggressive that guy is. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah. Carbon, speaking of which, looking to try and get a barrel in there, but he gets bound. See, you know, you can hit them when they're a fair way away, you can T-Gun, but just not when they're point blank.
It's actually very hard to hit Morgana Binds point blank with how mobile Gragas is.
Yeah, it's true.
Can skirt around you a little bit. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt.
Well, he's certainly demonstrated that he can do it.
1-2-16. Ryu also having a terrific game up there in the top lane. Soul Strikes, you can't talk about how important his early game was, and you know, we're speaking as if the game's over because right now, Immunity with Baroned up minions trying to break the other side of the base.
Yep, heading into the bottom lane here. Legacy looking for a last-ditch effort as the explosive cast come through, but Denian still having a free time with everyone as he hops around. Cheese locks down Tallywhacker, and Legacy now forced to flee as a lot of their damage now missing. Look at the kills going left, right, and center. Soul Strikes so ridiculously tanky, and Ryu, even with that Zhonya's Hourglass available, more than happy to get underneath that turret. Last Nexus turret to fall down, and Immunity looking like a brand new team decimate Legacy throughout that game.
And Ryu's equalizer was on point again in that last fight, pinning him against the wall, making sure they couldn't run backwards, and the coordination out of Immunity. They were 1-3, now 2-3, moving their way up slowly. But that was comprehensively the best game I've seen them play as an outfit this split. And I reckon you can throw it into last split as well. That was a very convincing win.
And that was the best I've seen T-Gun play in my life. That's one of the best Morgana performances I've seen. Managing to get bind after bind, having everything work out for him. Even, you know, had the audacity to build that Zhonya's Hourglass, but made it work as well. And with Ryu performing in the top lane, arguably one of the weak links for Immunity, especially as we were talking about towards the end of the last split, man, this team definitely looking good. And Denian, he only died once.
Yeah, he had a really good game. When we talked about if Legacy get to set up and siege, they're going to be in a good position. But they couldn't because they were so far behind. We have a replay, and it just shows that Legacy continually had to come to Immunity. They started off the Baron. This is their second of the game. And you see, right now, you got an AP Kog'Maw or Tristana. You want to be pushing turrets, but they're forcing them to fight. So as we roll this one out, Carbon gets a disengaging ultimate. But from there, they just continue to fight. T-Gun on the backline gets a good Soul Shackles across. Soul Strike survives for a heck of a long time, flashes out. And then Denian, with all of his damage, is just free on the backline. This is why Kallista's so good, has some lifesteal already, gets a big rend across. Ryu goes berserk, picks up a triple kill on the backline. off the back of that, Legacy come back, try and re-engage, get another 2 kills, but they lost the Baron, they lost control of the game way too early. And Immunity just continued to accelerate the pace of the game. If any team can play in Chaos, I have confidence that it's the Immunity lineup.
Yeah, and they're certainly playing it well, and that's off the back of, you know, Cheese having a brilliant game at the same time. And I sort of want to correct myself just a little bit, because I was talking about Immunity sort of not having a lot of scaling, but they had Callista Azir, and that Azir was ahead so early in that game as well. Cheese really had a great performance.
Well, what they had is a lot of snowball. They had a lot of base damage to come through, so levels is an extremely important stat for them on the likes of Rek'Sai, on the likes of Rumble. But then more importantly, when you're 10,000 gold ahead at like 23 minutes into the game,
it's a good point.
You just literally grab scaling, throw it out the window, because you've got like 2,000 gold per member. That's a major item nearly completed on everyone, so scaling doesn't really matter at that point.
Yeah, it's not really a thing, but congratulations to Team Immunity. We still have 3 more games